14 rounds of Swiss over 2 incredibly grueling days of intense Pokemon TCG play. We finally have our 2 finalists. It's going to be Michael Long on Greninja Break up against Igor Costa on that Volcanion deck that has swept this tournament. Actually got 2 players into the top 8 with that very same list. My name's Cora, and graciously joining us for the finals once again is going to be Pablo. Thank you so much again for filling in. Unfortunately, Ray did have to leave unexpectedly, but he sends his regards, and we are in great hands, I am sure. The quarters and semis have been a lot of fun. Sam, unfortunately, did lose to Igor in the last one. Had a chance for some energy, didn't get it, but Igor looked very comfortable on Volcanion, played very well. Couple of little things in there where he got a little bit ahead of himself, made a miscalculation when it came to energy drive with Tapu Lele, and I would like to see him maybe just take it a little bit more slowly, really think about his moves before he makes them and not make those small mistakes. But you have additional time for the top 8 cut, but you're still going to be playing against the clock a little bit. So hopefully we see Igor relax a little bit, take a breath, and just play as well as we know he can. But Greninja versus Volcanion, one of these decks seems significantly better against the other deck.
Yeah, so inherently it's, we're actually, we have the
gonna be
wrong,
flipped.
and yeah, Igor is not Gardevoir, it's Volcanion, but
He makes the quick switch.
yeah, so like on paper you see water versus fire and you see a disadvantage, right? However, we've seen how quick this Volcanion list can apply immediate pressure, and Greninja is also a setup deck just like Gardevoir is, as we see the handshake, and if Michael isn't able to set up, then Igor could pull off the upset, but I would definitely think Michael is favored here.
Yeah, and apologies, the names are flipped. We will get that situated as quickly as we possibly can. But those records are correct. Both of these guys finished with the exact same 12-1-3 record, only actually losing 1 series over the entire weekend. What an accomplishment.
Crazy. That's pretty crazy, yeah. 15 games brought them here, and even though Igor might seem unfavored, I'm sure he will play to the best of his ability and make it so Michael doesn't have an easy time here. And
if anybody can find a win in an unfavored matchup, it's Igor.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely. I'm going to say Volcanion on paper was unfavored against Gardevoir, and we saw how that went the previous round.
2-0 victory.
And Igor, once again, the slight, well, he was a slight underdog perhaps in the previous round. He's a big underdog in this round, but anything's possible.
If he can get an early knockout, maybe Guzma up the Froakie, deny Frogadier and water duplicates from coming down, and put Michael Long on having an additional Froakie to activate that Frogadier, then it is possible that Michael just doesn't have what he needs to develop to get Greninja breakout and to make good use of that type advantage. We do know Igor, with this baby Volcanion, has gotten 60 damage knockouts very easily on his turn 1 before.
Yeah. Staryu even has 40 HP, so it's even easier to knock out.
Yeah.
Now, something very peculiar as we see both players, or as we see Michael's first turn, something very peculiar about Michael's list, and that I'm sure a lot of people are surprised right now, perhaps in the chat watching, is a Tapu Lele in a Greninja list. So Greninja, up until, I guess, very recently, never used GX Pokemon. So one of the selling points of Greninja is the fact that you don't use a GX Pokemon, or you don't use they never used GX Pokemon at all. It
all
was
one prize attackers.
Yeah, exactly. So now we're seeing support Pokemon such as Starmie, then we're seeing support Pokemon such as Tapu Lele, and we also noticed that Michael has a Tapu Fini GX in his hand. So Michael, not afraid of playing GXs, he's not afraid of the price trade-off, and he's willing to include those GX Pokemon in his deck to get more utility out of them.
The majority of his threats are the one prize attackers. He's just using the EXs and GXs more for utility. So he knows that if his opponent wants to really deal with the main threat, it's still going to be one prize taken off of that Greninja break. If you do take out couple of early Froakies, get some knockouts on the Greninja breaks, and want to take the last 2 prizes off of a bench Lele or Finny, then that will accelerate just a little bit. But if that's the case, it's probably likely that your opponent was going to win anyway if they've gotten 4 prizes off of your valuable attackers.
Yeah, and he feels the trade-off of that liability on the bench is worth it just because he gets that extra consistency with the Lele, or the extra, like, the surprise GX attack with the Tapu Fini GX, which shuffles the Pokemon back into the deck, the active Pokemon. So he gets a lot of, he can get a lot of utility out of them.
Because Greninja is a deck that when it draws well, it draws so well. It is so powerful, but when it bricks, it bricks. So the one copy of Tapu Lele is trying to prevent that brick situation, give you just that little bit more consistency, so you can have those nutty draws more often.
Yeah. Now, we've had some, even though we're just 2 turns in, we've had some very interesting turns. So Michael decided to retreat his Staryu because he knows how important Starmie is in the late game to be able to get those giant water shurikens going. And Igor knows this too, so instead of knocking out the Froakie, which Michael did promote, even with the energy attached to maybe sacrifice it, Igor immediately targeted the Staryu. So he knows if he's going to have a chance in this game, he needs to make sure that Greninja's damage output is under control, especially after Michael discarded 3 basic energy off of the first Sycamore. So Michael, at the later stages of the game, might struggle to get some extra damage off of Giant Water Shuriken. He will be able to deny abilities with Shadow Stitching, but in the end, it's only 80 damage if you're not adding onto it with the Giant Water Shuriken. So Igor saw a very good opportunity, and he was very aggressive, but I'm going to guess that was all part of the plan in order to try and get a win here.
This meta currently is very much about resource management. Yeah. It's about playing your cards to the best of their ability and getting the most out of them that you possibly can. And by shutting down that Starmie line early on, you're denying so much energy for Michael in the long run. You're denying the giant water shurikens, and you are taking away so many of his valuable resources. So, well, it seems like the Froakie may have been the better target in the early. In the long haul, cutting this Staryu out of the game will be a big deal.
Yeah, so Michael runs a total of 6 water energy in his list, and I don't...
believe 4 splash energy.
Yeah, 6 basic, 4 splash, and he has a super rod. However, with no Starmie access, at least for the time being, he might struggle even to find energy attachments, perhaps. If he gets ahead due to Igor's Pokemon being weak, a late game N could deny Michael energy for enough time for Igor to reactivate his abilities and be able to get some knockouts here. There's also the fact that a Fighting Fury Belt on a Turtonator means Turtonator can one-hit KO Greninja break, so that's also really big. And we do see Igor is now taking a knockout on the active Frogadier, and I believe he forgot to take a prize. He's knocked out a Staryu and... Oh no, he knocked out a Frogadier and he knocked out a Staryu, but he has 5 prizes, I believe. So Igor forgot to take a prize card, and I think we should notify that
to
the... Oh, there he is. There he's taking
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
There you go. It's been fixed. Okay. So the enhanced hammers will also be pretty important here, just because Igor can deny the splash energy before taking a knockout, and therefore Michael won't get back the Greninja pieces into his hand. So yeah, Igor off to the ideal start. He's facing off Greninja now. It's time to deal with them, but he has the Volcanion EX powered up to take another consecutive knockout, and he could potentially find another knockout with Turtonator GX on a break. So sitting very good, Igor.
Yeah, it's possible that he's just going too fast for Michael Long to actually be able to catch up. Like Gardevoir, this is a stage 2 attacker that you then need to equip the break onto. So while you forego the Froakie with water duplicates, you still do need to make 2 then evolutions onto the Frogadier. It takes a lot of time, and Michael is going to Ultra Ball away the Finny and I believe a Froakie in hand.
Yep. He gets another Froakie with Ultra Ball, and then he plays yet another Ultra Ball, so really thinning out his deck as much as possible. And yeah, discarding the Fini means it's very unlikely that we will see the GX attack used, but in this particular matchup, it really serves no purpose. Tapu Fini GX is mostly for Gardevoir GX to return a fully powered up Gardevoir that was maybe taking one-hit KOs on
much
on
more
Greninja breaks.
much more potent against other stage 2 attackers.
Yeah.
Volcanion is a basic, comes right back down, powers up very easily. You can max elixir, put multiple energy on it in a turn, and it can be attacking the very same turn it comes out.
Yeah. So Michael gonna prioritize taking knockouts and taking advantage of the weakness of these Volcanions than trying to shuffle one back in and delay the Igor's attackers. Now we see the Super Rod, so putting back the Staryu, and Michael does have Brooklet Heal, which Igor can also use to find Volcanion EX, because Volcanion EX is dual typing, water and fire. But yeah, Michael knows Staryu and Starmie are pretty important, and I would even say it's as important as Octillery is for Gardevoir deck. So
Which we've seen what happened to Sam when he didn't have access to his Octillery. It didn't end well for him.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool to see these like 1-1 tech lines in decks.
Yeah.
Just because that means the format is I guess healthy enough where you can afford to like make this you're able to cut some corners in your deck by playing a 1-1 line, which you know will be really useful, and then the odds of pricing one piece or the other are there, but they're not significant enough to turn you down from playing them, and it gives your deck more versatility, and so we see more variety within the game. So it's always really good.
80 damage on the Volcanion means Michael Long went ahead and used Shadow Stitching last turn, so no Steam Ups available for Igor this turn. Igor went ahead with the Enhanced Hammer, removed the Splash Energy from the active Greninja, so if he's able to knock it out, it will not go back into Michael's hand.
Yeah, and he also attached an energy to the Volcanion, so he intends to retreat and take a knockout with Volcanion EX, and the issue here is he doesn't have a follow-up Turtonator GX fully powered up to knock out a break, which we should expect from Michael next turn. So even if he doesn't get to Giant Water Shuriken next turn, the extra HP could be really, really impactful here. And if Igor doesn't find an energy plus Max Elixir, or unless Michael... No, I guess he still needs the energy.
Igor went ahead and tried to Steam Up there.
Yeah.
Had the energy in the discard. Michael caught him on it, put it back in his hand. Yep. But there's kind of what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Little things. They add up.
Yeah. And wow, we see the double Greninja break from hand. We see the Eva Soda into another Greninja, unless it's not available to Michael.
He did discard one from the Ultra Ball, so if the fourth is prized, it will not be... Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. So... And we see a Brooklet Heal for the...
Oh, my mistake. He discarded the break, not the natural Greninja. Yeah. So, yeah, he had the...
Yeah, so Michael, even though he's behind 3 prize cards, Greninja is known to make some really crucial comebacks. I played Greninja for a very long time.
Yeah.
A lot of people criticized me for it because apparently I stuck with it too long.
Well, look at him now. It's in the finals.
Yeah. And, I mean, Michael, if he's able to find the Starmie, I believe he will be able to make the comeback. I'm not gonna call anything anymore because I think
we just end up looking silly when we're wrong.
I think I've called every game wrong so far. So
I mean, but that just goes to show how quickly the tides can turn in these matchups, right? One player may look like they're significantly ahead, but a well-timed Guzma or an Enhanced Hammer on an Energy or a Max Elixir that they hit, a Sycamore off the top, whatever it may be, can turn things around very quickly.
Now, Michael only found one water energy, so he goes ahead and uses Shadow Stitching, but this is what we're talking about. He doesn't have energy to use Giant Water Shuriken, so his damage output, if he wants to control abilities, is limited to 80. And Igor is going to go ahead and...
take away that Brooklet Hill.
Yep, and then play an N, which gives him only 3 cards and gives Michael 6 brand new cards. I'm going to guess Igor didn't have anything better to play in his hand. And because Volcanion took a knockout the previous turn and he attacked, Volcanic Hit can actually not be used this turn. So if Igor doesn't find a way to retreat with a switch or a float zone, he he might be forced to discard all 3 energy.
Okay, so Super Rod going to put 2 energy from the discard back into the deck. No energy on Baby Volcanion, so you're not going to be taking energy from the discard and putting it onto your bench anytime soon. Might as well put them back into your deck where you can actually make some use of them if you get a hold of them.
Now, Igor holding a Sycamore off of the end, so that's really good for him. And now he's thinking, do I retreat and use Shell Trap from Turtonator? Does that benefit me in any way? Do I leave the Volcanion and force Michael to find a Giant Water Shuriken? Or a basic energy rather for Giant Water Shuriken to get a knockout, but there we see the Starmie. So Michael now fully set up with 3 Greninjas. Despite the super shaky early game, he's able to stabilize, and Igor in a pretty bad position despite being ahead 3 prize cards.
Igor knocked Michael off of his game plan by targeting down that Staryu right at the beginning. Knowing if Starmie gets set up, Michael has access to 2 additional energy from the discard every single turn, and that spells bad news for Igor. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to hold it off for forever. The Starmie does eventually come down, and now with multiple Greninjas set up, Michael can Giant Water Shuriken multiple times per turn, target that 60 damage wherever he wants to put it, and he's recycling those energy, so he's net 0 every turn except for the card he has to discard to activate the Starmie, and usually you've got some dead cards in hand at this point, so you're not feeling too bad about that.
Now, we did see the first Giant Water Shuriken go towards the Turtonator, so Michael knows that's the bigger threat because that's the only thing that's powered up. And he does have the choice band to use the bench Greninja break and take a knockout on the active.
Very nice.
With the extra damage from choice band, he goes for the double Giant Water Shuriken onto a Turtonator and takes the knockout on Volcanion. So now he's only 1 prize card behind, and he even has the splash energy to get back all the pieces and play them down pretty much immediately.
Michael Long looking very confident. All right, splash energy gone.
Yeah.
There's that second enhanced hammer, but now Igor will not have access to them going forward. Only plays 2 copies. Intended for Guardy matchups, but works well in this case too. Also can hit Rainbow Energy occasionally against Golisopod.
Now, Igor does have the energy and Fighting Fury Belt needed to deal 170 damage to the Greninja break, but even though Michael won't get the pieces back, I think just the 1 Greninja break will probably be enough. He can use Giant Water Shuriken, start preparing a Volcanion EX on the bench to get knocked out, and with a single Shadow Stitching, he will get a knockout if he's able to remove the Fighting Fury Belt. Otherwise, he can just target the active and get the knockout.
I mean, the Volcanion on the bench are not real threats right now. No energy on anything. If Igor wants to start spreading the energy, you'd have to promote the Baby Volcanion and then attach there, start putting energy on the 2 Volcanion EX on the bench. But even still, that would not be enough to get a Volcanic Heat active for the next turn. So this is looking like, and especially now with that second Greninja break, Michael Long is going to be pretty smooth sailing from here on out. Igor was able to disrupt early on, but it wasn't enough. And I think that just goes to show how good this matchup is for Michael, and probably why he's found so much success in this tournament, because there was so much fire.
Now, Michael immediately had the second Greninja break. He's going to Giant Water Shuriken a Volcanion EX on the bench twice, and he's going to... He also had the Field Blower to remove the Fighting Fury Belt, so a Shadow Stitching gets a knockout on the Turtonator, and with 2 Greninja breaks and a Starmie in play, I don't know what Igor can do to make a comeback here. He has no energy. He gets a Turtonator knocked out. Michael is now down to 2 prize cards, and something the judge is asking Michael something. Michael explains, and Igor is... Yeah, we're good to go.
So is there any way that Igor can actually pull this one off? With a Shadow Stitching every turn, he doesn't have access to Steam Up. That limits his maximum damage from Volcanion EX to 140 if he finds a Fighting Fury Belt. Nope, there's nothing he's going to be able to do. Game number 1 over to Michael Long on the Greninja break, the only Greninja break in the top 8, and he's in the finals in a very, very good matchup for him.
Yeah. If you're Michael Long, you're definitely feeling pretty good here. Igor got pretty much the almost ideal start you could want for Volcanion against Greninja, you took a prize since the first turn, 8 consecutive turns. You even were able to target the Staryu ahead of the Froakie to try and deny or at least delay the Starmie. But Michael very smartly prioritized setting up the Greninjas, and then once those were such big threats that Igor had to deal with them, he was able to set up the Starmie. And with the you saw how important Starmie was. If Michael hadn't had access to so much extra damage, he might have still won. He might have not, but it definitely guaranteed him the win.
He wouldn't have had the consistent giant water shuriken. Certainly wouldn't have been able to use multiple per turn, target down that Turtonator to be weak to the Shadow Stitching to deal exactly a total of 200 damage after the two 60 damage giant water shurikens to kill it because it only has 190 health. So that preparation from Michael with, of course, the massive assistance of the Starmie to net all of that water energy every turn was ultimately what gave him that game. But also when you're shutting off Steam Up, Volcanion's damage is not enough to get Greninja. They shake hands. It is going into game number 2. And Igor finds a great start again. He needs to essentially get that same start he had last game, but he needs Michael to not get a good start.
Yeah, and Igor does have a Sycamore to try and get ahead and set up here. However, he does discard an Enhanced Hammer, which might be important if Michael is able to find a Splash Energy for his first few turns. Now, he does find a Volcanion EX. He has the Fighting Fury Belt already attached, so he's all set up to take a knockout on the Froakie. Michael does top deck an N. Did he have a supporter beforehand? Okay, he had Sycamore.
He did.
So I thought his hand was not was dead, and so he would struggle to find another basic, and he would have to rely on Bubble hitting the paralysis. However, now he has a tough choice. Does he N and give Igor a brand new hand with an extra card and shuffle his cards back into the deck, hoping to hit a basic, or does he Sycamore away the cards to have more of a chance to find a basic Pokemon, and he chooses the end. So
I think that depends a lot on also the card quality of the rest of Michael's hand. If there are cards in there he wants to make use of later on, you don't have the liberty of using Sycamore early on and just taking them out of contention for the entire game. So he's going to go for the end, shuffle those cards back in his deck. We actually see one of his interesting tech choices drawn. That's going to be the Espeon EX. Pablo, you actually said, did you play against Michael Long earlier?
Yeah, I played Michael Long on round 1 of day 2, and I got completely demolished, not only by his tech cards, but because Greninja is also favored against Gardevoir.
Yeah.
But Michael is forced to bench Espeon EX in this matchup against the only basic deck just because he couldn't find another basic Pokemon. So this is what I was talking about. I think Michael might have made a bad call there, but because he's ahead 1 game, and he's guaranteed to go first on game 3 if need be, I believe that's a risk you can take here. However, if he was in the same situation in game 3, I think Sycamore would always be the right play, just because if you whiff off of the end, you immediately lose. And Sycamore gives you higher odds of getting that basic Pokemon.
Because you've given Igor a fresh hand after he's played 3 cards on turn 1, 4 potentially if he's able to bench something. And the last thing you want to do is give your opponent resources just to get your own. And 7's more than 6. You're absolutely right. It's more consistent. The math checks out, Pablo.
The math checks out, and it's also the fact that you don't put cards back into your deck.
Yeah, you want to thin that deck. You want to find your Froakies. You want to get water duplicates, set up multiple Frogadiers, and find those Greninjas as fast as possible. Because the one advantage that Igor has over Michael is that his deck sets up so much more quickly. If he's able to get the early knockouts on the Froakie, like he just did, now Michael's got to find a second Froakie, and then he's got to find the Frogadier to be able to get multiple Frogadier out on the bench. So Igor had a very good start this game like he had last game, but Michael's start was a little bit slower. Again, having to Ultra Ball away that Greninja break. What is he looking for here? Wants another Froakie as fast as possible.
Yeah, Michael top decked that Ultra Ball, which was very fortunate. Otherwise, he would have relied on an other end to find even one basic. he attaches the splash, so he's guaranteed a Froakie the next turn as well. Even if Igor manages to knock out that Froakie, he's guaranteed another one. So Michael will try to stabilize. However, time is something to be considered. Once again, just because Igor has the aggressive deck, Michael has the setup deck.
Yeah.
So if things are not looking good on game 2, I think you can easily take the concession, go to game 3, make sure you have plenty of time to knock out those Volcanions and Turtonators, and provided you set up, you should be favored.
Yeah, because Michael's going behind in the early game, in every game. It's just going to happen. He plays too many fragile basic Pokemon. Igor has the targeted damage on turn 1 with the Volcanion many times, and the Fighting Fury Belt to get the knockouts on the 60 damage Pokemon. Like we're going to see right now, Guzma up, that Froakie. He has the switch in hand, bring back up that baby Volcanion. That's going to be the knockout on the setup Froakie. Goes back to hand, but Michael is going to lose the splash energy and just not enough time for him to set up. This is really the way that I could see Igor winning it, and he is executing beautifully.
Now, knocking out the Froakie with energy is pretty smart because even though Michael gets back the Froakie immediately, that's an energy Igor just denied. And so Michael now has to find energy and Frogadier in order to water duplicates instead of just finding the Frogadier. And we're going to see another Ultra Ult by Michael. Going to discard the Tapu Fini once again, so no Tapu Storm for us this game. And yeah, Michael desperately trying to stabilize here. He might finally be able to do so by finding an energy off of the end and getting the water duplicates off. But another thing about Greninja is if you prize 1 or 2 Frogadier sometimes, then things can get really tricky.
Yeah.
And
he had all 4 in the last game. Was very fortunate. Yeah. But things definitely change if you're left with only 2 Frogadier, for instance, and you can max out at 2 Greninja break.
Yeah, and Michael has that useless SPNEX. Like, there's literally SPNEX will be a really big liability. It's a 2-prize bait for Igor. It's a 2-prize temptation for Igor.
It's very tempting because normally Greninja break decks don't have those 2-prize Pokemon. But Michael, he's teched in that Finny. He's got 1 copy of Tapu Lele and the Espeon, of course, because Miraculous Shine is just such a good attack.
Yeah, and it seems like Michael did not get an energy off of this end, so the play Igor did in order to knock out the energy, that was pretty huge. And if you're Igor, you're feeling very good here. He doubles team ups
he's
and
scooping.
immediately Michael. So
wow, okay. 45 minutes for game number 3. Igor got one of the best starts possible, and Michael just could not get anything set up. Too much pressure from that baby Volcanion. Igor suddenly checking his watch. He knows exactly what he is left with, and he's an aggressive deck. He's got to do the exact same thing that he did in the last game, but Michael needs to get a significantly better start, find the Froakie, water duplicates on the Frogadier, set up multiple Frogadier. He'll go behind a couple prizes in the early game, but just like game number 1, he can come back if he sets up those Greninja, Shadow Stitching to take down the steam ups from the Volcanion EXs, and Greninja Break from there should be able to take it home. So everything is going to be coming down to this final game, the championship title on the line here at Hartford Pokemon TCG Regional Championships. This is going to be a big game for both of these guys.
Now, Cora, tell me, are you familiar with the term Greninja hands?
I'm not, but I can hypothesize as to what that means.
Okay, so yeah, Greninja hands is a popular term within the community because Greninja is such a good deck, but then you can just get these hands like we saw Michael get, where you struggle to get anything going and you just never stabilize. So Michael is just hoping to avoid those Greninja hands. As long as he's able to stabilize, like in game 1, even if he loses the Staryu, he has recovery cards.
Yeah.
Even if he loses Greninjas, as long as he keeps up the Greninjas, even if he's behind 5 prizes to 6 or 1 prize to 6, he could easily make the comeback. It's just going to come down to, can he stabilize?
From an outsider perspective, Greninja hand sounds like it could be a very good thing, or it could be a very bad thing. In this case, I guess being used to mean a very bad thing. But that's probably why Michael has elected to put a copy of Tapu Lele GX in the deck to try and avoid those Greninja hand scenarios. And bump up the consistency level of the deck a little bit. Gets the Staryu in the active, the Froakie on the bench, and Igor just never starts this game without that baby Volcanion in the active spot. And it does so much work, you would be remiss not to put it in the active right at the beginning.
Now, Michael looks to have a very solid start here. He has the Staryu start, which does have free retreat. He has the Ultra Ball and the Froakie, so he can find a second Froakie, which he does put at the front of his deck. And he also has a Sycamore in his hand. If he didn't have that Sycamore, he probably would be using the Skylad to find a Sycamore or an N. However, with the Sycamore and with the double Froakie start, I think you can feel pretty confident in this game, provided you don't get some weird draws off of the Sycamore. He even has a Rescue Stretcher to recover the Greninja break immediately. So, yeah, sitting very good, Michael, with his first turn. He's probably going to have to give up a prize and consecutive turns, just like we saw in the first game. But if he stabilizes, he's good to go.
Can't let those early knockouts from your opponent get to you, because that's just how this matchup is going to operate. Volcanion will take 2 or 3 early on, knock out some of your really valuable Froakie or Staryu, and from there you need to be able to make that comeback. But Greninja Break can do it consistently enough if you do not brick. And so far, Michael's had a pretty reasonable start. Needs to find a Frogadier, needs to find an energy, then he's in business.
Now, Michael did have an energy in his hand, but it was only one. So he chose not to attach it, because if he attached it to the active Froakie and it goes down, he loses the energy. If he attaches it to the bench Froakie, like he did in the previous game, and he loses it, he's 1 energy short, and he still needs to find an energy for the Frogadier. So he chose not to take that risk, and we'll see if Igor can pull off the knockout. Yes, he can. So he did use Team Up. He found the Fighting Fury Belt. And can Michael draw well here?
He's got Splash Energy, a Lele, Evo Soda.
Yeah.
Can get him that Frogadier, but can he get it into the active spot? The Staryu has free retreat, so you can just pull that back nice and easy.
Yep. So
then the second question is, how many Frogadiers did he prize?
How many Frogadiers does Michael have access to? If it's 2, I'm going to say he's in a good position. If it's only 1,
now we have
definitely
problems.
Struggle. He's looking through his deck. It's not the first search he does. So he was probably just confirming some sort of count, very specific. And he does have the Lele and another Evo Soda, so he's not going to brick. And if he can get multiple Greninja out next turn, we might see a repeat of Game 1.
That's what Michael Long is hoping for, and Igor is hoping against all hope that he doesn't see 1 Frogadier, 2 Frogadier. Can we have the quad frogs in play? He's got them.
Yeah. So looking very similar to Game 1. We have the part of Turtonator. We have the baby Volcanion, which actually still needs to have the help of a second Volcanion EX in order to get another knockout or another consecutive knockout. We see the enhanced hammer, so no recovery of the Frogadier for Michael. We see a Steam Up. We see Igor moving his prize cards in order to make room for his bench. He's gonna instruct for 1, and I'm gonna guess he's gonna go for a Professor Sycamore off of this Wonder tag and hope to hit Volcanion and a Fire Energy in order to get the knockout and see if he can change the course of the game, unlike Game 1.
10 damage shy with just the single Steam Up, so needs to find the additional Volcanion and energy to then use both. A little bit of a waste, considering it seems like a little bit of a waste, considering there's 3 Frogadier left on the bench, but you take what you can get here, and this deck recycles the Fire Energy so easily that you were just getting free attaches there anyway.
So we do see the Sycamore, and Michael, very crucially, has not played a Brooklet Heal, which would have allowed Igor to search for that Volcanion EX, but we do see the Ultra Ball, and we do see the Fire Energy, so Igor will be able to find that second Volcanion EX and take that knockout. So Igor doing all the right things he needs to do in order to try and win this match, but if Michael gets 2 Greninjas into play next turn, things could get tricky for Igor.
If we can get Shadow Stitching online, if Michael can find that Starmie and start recycling some of that energy, he will be in business. It worked out so well for Igor in the first game when he Guzma'd up that Staryu, shut down that Starmie for the early turns, but Igor doesn't have the same start that he did in that first game.
And Michael opting not to play Tapu Lele to get Sycamore. He actually chooses to go the safe route by not having a 2-price liability on his bench. He's just going to end Igor down to 4 cards. He's going to draw 6 with good odds, I would say, of getting a second Greninja in play.
There's that Starmie too.
Yeah. So Starmie, very important for the late game, but if Michael doesn't get another Greninja into play this turn, which it doesn't seem he will, Igor will most likely get a knockout on the active Greninja, and therefore Michael will still need yet another turn to get the break active. So Igor has an opening here. Igor has an opening just because Michael only has 1 Greninja into play. Ideally, you always want 2 to make sure that even if 1 goes down, you still have access to the break the next turn and that extra HP, but looks like Michael will not have that benefit.
Okay, so that potentially could be a tripping point for him. The splash energy gone, so the Greninja will not be back in hand.
Oof. Okay, so Igor playing really fast. He discards another Volcanion and a big Volcanion and plays the end, so he's thinning his deck. But how does Igor take the knockout here? He needs to hit an Elixir and a switch, or a Fire Energy and a switch, which he hits. Oh,
there's Elixir, there's the Fire Energy.
He's gonna Field Blower away his own Fighting Fury Belt.
Wow.
And he hits the energy, so he's gonna be able to take the knockout with Volcanion EX instead of Turtonator discarding the energy. So Igor got pretty much the perfect 4 cards off of the end. Wow, what a play by Igor. That
is phenomenal. Okay, this is the turning point. Michael missed that second Greninja setup. Igor got the energy, the Max Elixir, the Float Stone, and the Field Blower off the end. He's got that Volcanion in the active position. It cannot attack with Volcanic Heat next turn unless he retreats it, brings it back out, or Guzma's something along those lines. But now the onus is on Michael. He looked like he was in a good position, but does he have another Greninja this turn? Can he Shadow Stitching and shut down Steam Ups? Can he put himself out of range? He's going to go for the Tapu Lele, and does he have to find a Sycamore?
Probably, yeah. Before the end, Michael had 2 Greninja breaks in his hand, so with 1 more Greninja in play, he would have been very good, but Igor probably won't have access to Instruct. He's going to be playing with his top deck and his prize card. However, if Igor finds a Guzma or something like that, oof, Igor definitely has...
He's got a good shot. This is what he wanted to see.
Yeah, it's been a very similar game to game 1, except for the fact that Michael could not get more Greninjas into play. So he's going to go for the Sycamore, but once again, we have the 2-price liability on the bench, and Turtonator can deal exactly 170 damage, even without abilities. So a Guzma here could bring Igor down to 1 price card. Oof. And we do see Tapu Fini hit play, so we might actually see a Tapu Storm at some point. Oof.
Yep, there's the Sycamore. Draw 7, hits some energy. Another Sycamore. I believe an N in there as well. Oof. Hits the break. Doesn't find the Greninja, but he's got the Evo Soda. Okay, there we go. Scaring me for a second there, Michael.
Now, the issue once again is Michael only has 1 Greninja. So if that Greninja goes down, that means no break into play, and I think that risk will probably prompt Michael not to attack with Greninja, to not let it be knocked out the next turn. He's gonna force Igor to at least have the Guzma to take that knockout, and we might actually see a Tapu Storm from Tapu Fini GX this turn in order to to return that Volcanion onto the deck and remove those 3 energy from play. Michael really, really thinking hard, because if he goes for the Tapu Fini play, He also will let Igor have access to Instruct from Warren Guru. So really, really important turn in the match. Michael whiffing that second Greninja once again
That's
is really, really
so
big.
bad.
Yeah.
In the first game, he was able to get 2 Greninja breaks set up right away, had that third one online very quickly as well. And it was that multiple Greninja swing turn that got him back into the game, even with that early prize deficit, but did not have access to it this turn.
And we see the attachment to the Tapu Fini, so we're either going to see a Tapu Storm GX. Yeah, we are. So Volcanion goes back into the deck. I'm not sure if you saw Michael use that attack in any other round before, but
I think we may have his first time on stream. It is rare, but you have it for a reason. Shuffle your opponent's active Pokemon and all cards attached to it into their deck.
no.
And then Tapu Fini is also a water type. You can deal some damage with it, but you're really playing it for Tapu Storm.
And there we see the liability of not using Shadow Stitching means Igor gets access to Wonder Tag from Tapu Lele. He gets to find a Sycamore. He's gonna replenish his hand, and he can knock out the Tapu Fini with just an energy on his full Turtonator GX. Sorry. So it's gonna get really tricky for Michael. And there we go. There's the energy.
The Turtonator will then have to discard 2 energy, so Igor will be forced to set up on it again, but you still have that baby Volcanion with the float stone, so we can go in and out very easily, can then set up that Turtonator again for the exact kill on the Tapu Lele if Igor has that Guzma for that final prize. But you only need 1 prize, so anything that you kill now is going to be the game.
Now, if Michael uses Shadow Stitching, Igor should not be able to get a prize next turn, but he can use his own Nitro Tank GX and therefore power up enough threats on the bench where a single Guzma will win him the game. So, Igor down to 1 prize card, and things are not looking good for Michael. He needs to end this. He needs to Shadow Stitching and end this turn. And then hope Igor never finds a Guzma before Michael is able to take all 6 prize cards.
Need to shut off Instruct. Need to put Igor on the end card plus 1 card off the top. There's the Greninja break.
Yep, and he has energy to attach. He has energy to Giant Water Shuriken, and he has energy. He has the N. So if I'm Michael here, I'm definitely thinking to take a knockout on the Baby Volcanion through Giant Water Shuriken. And if there's any deck that can pull off this comeback,
it's Greninja.
It's definitely Greninja.
Well, if you get that Baby Volcanion out of there, Igor can't access the energy from his discard until he finds another one and then finds an energy to attack. Then you shut off Instruct, you put him on 2 cards, you put him on having multiple energy, so Max Elixir energy. So he needs like Sycamore off the top, Max Elixir, and energy equip. There's a lot that he's going to need to be able to get that knockout this next turn. So it looks like Michael may have found his avenue back into this game. It's not over yet, folks.
He chose to use Giant Water Shuriken on the Turtonator, though, so I don't think Michael drew a choice band he needed or a field blower to remove the Fighting Fury belt in order to take a knockout. So Igor down to 1 card. Michael debating on which attack he wants to use, although without the field blower, he'll probably opt to use Shadow Stitching.
I mean, you can't leave this Turtonator in the active with 1 energy on it. Can Nitro Tank put 5 energy, power up the Turtonator, power up the Volcanion, power up Tapu Lele for all you care. You know, it's going to get the knockouts on the base of Pokemon either way you cut it. But Michael Long doesn't have any option. He has to give Igor the ability to Nitro Tank if he wants it. Finds the N.
Yeah, but I think Igor might be out of luck here because he just checked his discard pile, and I think he only has the 2 energy.
Doesn't have the energy to do it.
Discarded, so his
man.
Nitro Tank would be very, very weak if he Nitro Tanks onto the Baby Volcanion. that can get picked off by Giant Water Shuriken. If he Nitro tanks onto the Volcanion EX, it could get Guzma perhaps, although I'm not sure Michael runs Guzma. Is Michael gonna pull off the 6-1 comeback?
Pablo, this would be such a comeback. And, we've said it. Greninja goes down to a prize deficit early on. Usually it's not 5 prizes. Usually you have that 2 or 3 prize buffer. Yeah, you can stand to lose one Greninja break without losing the whole game. But it is Greninja break or bust now for Michael. What does Igor have?
Yeah, he's gonna Nitro tank just 2 energy onto the Volcanion EX. So the weakest Nitro tank ever. Oh my gosh, what is Igor's card in his hand? What does Michael have in his hand? Michael would love a Field Blower right now. Turtonator has 140 damage on it, I believe.
So Shadow Stitching would knock it out. Giant Water Shuriken would knock it out.
No.
He
needs both. Yeah.
Yes. Because of the Fighting Fury belt.
Yeah. He would. Be
he has the additional 40 with the 50 remaining. So yeah. 10 shy with just Shadow Stitching. There is the secondary attack on Greninja Break, but you're never not shutting down abilities at this point in the game. You can't leave Instruct open for Igor to draw additional cards.
Yeah, there's no way you can do that unless you want to throw the game. So we see the second Greninja Break and the Starmie. So Michael will be very close to picking off a knockout on the bench Volcanion EX. He could even target the Baby Volcanion so that Igor doesn't have a way to even replenish the Volcanion EX with another energy. So yeah, Igor's really going to struggle to draw his last prize card. And looks like Igor rearranging the damage so it's more clear. 140. Oh, Michael does have.
He's got it.
The Field Blower.
Now he can
Shadow Stitching now for a knockout.
Yeah.
So
Giant Water Shuriken, the Baby Volcanion, get double knockout this turn, draw 3 prizes.
Or potentially set up the Volcanion EX in order to be knocked out by just one Giant Water Shuriken.
Yeah.
However, I think you still, by not removing the Float Stone from the Baby Volcanion, I believe Michael will take the knockout there. Just because he can Giant Water Shuriken, the Volcanion EX, and the Baby Volcanion, and still have the double Giant Water Shuriken wherever that Volcanion EX decides to stay at.
He only needs 2 energy, and Starmie netting him 2 energy every turn from discard means that he will have the ability to Giant Water Shuriken every single turn going forward. Yep, he's got the 2 in the discard that he needs.
Igor needs Fire Energy and Guzma. That's all he can do to win the game next turn. If the Volcanion EX goes down, I don't think Igor has a chance here. Okay, so first Giant Water Shuriken onto the Volcanion EX. Second Giant Water Shuriken onto the Volcanion EX. So choosing not to take the knockout on the Baby Volcanion.
Okay.
Playing it super, super safe and going for the Shadow Stitching knockout. So what does Igor draw here? Oh, he draws the Guzma and the energy. The 2 cards he has are Guzma and energy.
Oh my goodness, Igor has pulled off the impossible. What?
Look at Igor, he's so happy. How does he do it? He had 1 card in hand.
Oh my goodness, that was incredible. He had 1 card in hand, and off the top, he has the Guzma and the energy. It looked like Michael was about to bring it back from a 5 prize deficit. He almost had it, but it wasn't enough. Igor coming back from what is a horrible matchup. Absolutely horrible. And he gets the job done. A 13-1-3 record over the weekend is going to make Igor Costa your Hartford Pokemon TCG regional champion. Congratulations to Michael Long. Seeing Greninja in the finals is, I think, a fantastic meta read on that there would be a decent amount of fire here, and he played very, very well. Unfortunately, didn't get the draws I think that he needed to make even the most advantageous matchup his series to win. But Igor is the man of the hour, and man, does he deserve it, Pablo. That was something.
That was incredible play by Igor, but that combination of 2 cards that only 2 cards helped him, that's all. And that's part of the game, you know. It's like it doesn't. It's not enough that you're good. It also has to, like, you have to have that little edge, you know. There's always variance and probabilities involved, but you have to be on the good side of the variance.
You have to hit the right matchups along the way. You need to draw well. You need to hit the supporters when you're end down to 1. There's so much going into all of the things that come together and form a champion, but somehow the players in this game are still so incredibly consistent because you can't beat just the highest level of play. It's something that through years of experience, through so much hard work and testing and play is absolutely invaluable. Then when you take that side of things and add to it just that little bit something extra, you have a player like Igor, who is incredibly consistent, so talented, and now he's your Hartford Pokemon TCG Regional Champion. Massive congratulations to him, and what a weekend this has been. Pablo, you went from playing, you ended up commentating 3 rounds on the last day. Thank you so much for filling in and getting to cast with me a little bit. This was a lot of fun. I've learned so much over the course of this weekend, and from your casting especially.
No, well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for having me here. Definitely enjoyed. I wish I was playing right now.
I know.
I'm really enjoying.
I know you
doing
can't
this
say
as well.
that you'd rather be back here.
Cool.
I would never expect that. You'd rather be in Igor's place right now. But nonetheless, this was an absolutely an incredible tournament. So much diversity, some really intense matches in these last top 8 series. Whew, we had some crazy stuff happen here, but all in a day's work at a Pokemon regional tournament. So that's going to be about it. Again, congratulations to all the top 8 finalists, to Michael Long, who will be taking second, to Igor Costa, who is the regional champion here at Hartford for the Pokemon TCG. But that's going to do it for the weekend. It has been long, it has been tiring, but it has been incredibly worthwhile. From all of us here at the Pokemon TCG Hartford Regional, myself, Ray C., who unfortunately had to leave early, but is giving you his warmest regards. Pablo, any last words, or we out of here finally?
We're out of here.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Hope to see you soon. Have a great night, everybody, and thank you for watching.